We're inside of the Coral Group page inside of our course wiki. The next thing that we want to add is a data table down at the bottom of this page so that the students can enter in the data for depth, salinity, temperature, and photosynthetic radiation that they're going to be collecting on the field trip. So let's go ahead and scroll up to the top of the page and click on the Edit tab so we can go into the edit mode for this page. Then scroll down, and at the bottom of our block of text, put in a couple of line returns, and then type in a subheading by typing in = space data table space ==. Hit return. Now to create a table is a little bit tricky inside of a wiki, but follow along and we'll get through it no problem. The first thing we need to do is we need to define the region for the table, and you do that by opening and closing a curly brace. So I like to put an open curly brace on the left-hand side, then typing a pipe character that we mentioned earlier, hit return, and then type in another pipe character and close it with a right-hand curly brace. Now use the up arrow on your keyboard to go back up to the first line and put in a return. Now we have the definition as to where our table is going to go in the page. Now we need to define the first row. To do this, type in another pipe character and then a dash. I like to separate out all of my headings on separate lines. So I make sure that I put a space after my dash, I hit return, and now I'll type in an exclamation point to denote that this is my first heading. I'll put a space and then type in depth. Hit return. I'll put another exclamation point, another space, salinity, hit return, exclamation point, space, temperature, and of course we're going to record our temperatures in degrees Celsius, so we'll put a parentheses, a capital C, and another parentheses. Now hit return. One more exclamation point, a space, and then type in par in all uppercase. Hit return, and that just defines our first row. Next, we need to define the second row, which is going to be the first row of data that we're going to be including in our table. So we'll start off this row the same way we started the last row, with a pipe character, again the vertical bar, and a dash. Then hit return, another pipe character, space, 1M for 1 meter, and then hit return. We're now going to type in a pipe character on the next 3 lines and make sure you put a space after the character. If you don't put a space, it's not going to create that cell for you. What we're doing right now is we are creating first the header row and now each additional row of data. So let's continue creating the second row by typing in a pipe character, a space, a return, a pipe character, a space, a return, and one more pipe character, and a space. Now let's go ahead and check our work. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click the preview button. When we scroll down on the page, we now can see that we have our data table already set up for us. We have our first row of headings, and these headings have been added in here by having that exclamation point, and it's formatted this first row. We then have our second row where the first cell has the 1M for the first meter in depth, and then additional spaces for our students to be able to fill in the data later. Now let's go ahead and add the additional rows that we need to go to 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, and 5 meters. To save ourselves a little typing, we can scroll down on the page and then scroll down inside of our edit window. And now we can go ahead and simply select the pipe with the dash that's just above the 1M all the way down to the last pipe that's before our closing brackets. So altogether, you should have 5 lines selected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press Command or Control C on your keyboard to copy those 5 lines. Then at the end of the last line, hit return, press Command or Control V to paste in the text, hit return, paste again with Command or Control V, hit return, paste again, hit return, and press Command or Control V one more time. So now when we go down the list, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1 meters. Okay, let's go ahead and edit those now. So the second one should be listed as 2. The third one should be 3. Scroll down a little bit. The fourth one should be 4. And the fifth one should be 5. Now we'll go ahead and preview this by clicking the preview button. And then we'll scroll on back down. And there we go. We have our data table and it's all set up. Now I want to show you something That could be something that fools you a little bit. So go ahead and scroll back down, and we're going to go back into our data table. Now at the row just below the 1 meter mark, if we click our mouse just at the end of that line, we can see that there is currently a pipe character and then a space. What I want you to do is I want you to backspace and get rid of that one space that was right there. Let's go ahead and scroll down on our page and preview the page to see what happens. When we scroll down in the list, now we can see that in the first row, we're not getting the correct number of columns. And that's because that space is really important. It really separates out and tells the wiki that we really do mean to have a column of data right here. So in order to remedy that, scroll back down in our list, go down just to the line just below the 1 meter where we got rid of that space and put the space back in place. Now scroll all the way to the bottom of our page and click the Save button. And when we scroll down in our window, we have our data table that's been added properly for us. Creating a data table inside of a wiki can be a little tricky, but it's not bad. You just need to start off by using the curly brackets, use a pipe character to define each of the rows, and if you want to define the header row, just use the exclamation point instead of the pipe characters to get this nicely formatted header row. There's a lot of other tricks that you can use inside of a wiki. I'd suggest spending some time playing around with this module to see what other things that you can do and how you can implement a wiki for your class. Let's go ahead and return back to our course by scrolling back up to the top of the page and clicking on the link for BIOL 432 in the breadcrumbs. We'll also move our settings block back out to the main course by clicking on the Undock This Item link in the top of the dock. Now everything's set back up the way that we've been working all along, and we're ready to move on to the next chapter.